All right. Good morning, Dr. Watson.
Good
Um,
morning.
Thank you for joining me this lovely Monday morning. I know we kind of hit and miss on the last time, so I really appreciate you taking out your time. I know you got an incredibly busy schedule with you got a conference coming up, right?
Absolutely. Yes. 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 We
All
have
right,
Dr.
all right.
George Frazier coming to Kansas City. We're so excited to have him joining us.
Right on, right on. Well, I haven't met you. I haven't had the opportunity to meet you before, so I guess I'll just introduce myself a little bit. I've read a little bit about you, but I'm Deron Black. I am running for the Missouri State Senate here over in the east side of Kansas City, pretty much. Um, I have been a lifelong resident of Kansas City myself. I was in the United States Navy for a little bit, and then I moved back to Kansas City. Worked with my father with Ford Motor Company for about 7 years. I had a son, and I just recently got married and decided to continue my struggle in politics because it has definitely been a struggle. But I feel like it's a necessary struggle. And with that being said, speaking with your niece, Lisa Watson, and all the different things that are related to this time and this space right now. Miss Lisa thought that it would be, a good idea for me to have a conversation with you, give you some exposure, since I'll be talking to a lot of people on this campaign trail. And I've actually started this, little podcast movement type thing to be a vessel or vehicle to get, information and the message out, and so you are totally in line with, and even your organization, the Black Mastermind Group. I love it. I absolutely love it. I've always kind of thought and considered myself to be a armchair economist, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've always been interested in any type of business really, and that I really got that. Like I said, when I got out of the Navy, I was an information systems technician when I was
Mhm.
in the Navy. I was on an aircraft carrier, the USS John C. Stennis. And it was the first time I really had an experience with computers. And it was a great experience. I learned a whole heck of a lot, but it never was my passion. I just got over it. I actually got pretty good at it. But when I got out of the Navy, I wanted to figure out other ways in life to make an income, and I went into sales. And so having that sales job, going door to door in San Diego, business to business, selling all kinds of stuff, it really cut my teeth and helped me to build an entrepreneurial spirit that has been with me ever since. And even now I'm in insurance and financial services. So that's just a little bit about myself, and tell me a little bit more, and I'll always keep in mind, I'll be sharing this to the world, so we want
Mhm.
the world to know Miss Doc or Dr. Watson, as I like to say.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you. First of all, thank you for your service. Incredible. My brother was in the military as well, and respect what he's done for our country. I am Dr. Donnetta Watson. I'm the founder of the Black Mastermind Group. We are an entrepreneurial financial literacy training program. I always tend to go that direction, but who I am a wife of 45 years, 46 now, and I
Oh,
am,
congratulations.
thank you, the mother of three daughters. Amazing daughters. I'm proud of my daughters. They all went to college on academic scholarships, and which is rare for our community. But all three of my daughters had academic scholarships to go to college. One graduated from MU, one from CMSU, and one from Warrensburg. And
Oh, okay.
so, yeah, I'm very proud of what they've accomplished in life and who they are. Incredible, bright women,
Very educated.
powerhouse women. I said, if I got a college degree, you got to do more. So
Right on.
that was the law in the house. I have been a government manager management statistician. I came into the federal government after having my children and going about my entrepreneurial journey and doing things as a mom, staying close to home, raising my kids, and was doing odd and end employment opportunities, worked for managed law firms, worked in Blue Cross Blue Shield, and was in between healthcare and legal. And when I came into the government, I came in as a statistician after completing my master's degree and loved what I was doing. Love numbers. Didn't know I liked numbers. The ironic thing is, I was told that I wasn't college material when I was on the college campus and that I did not belong there.
Wow.
Yes. And I was young and extremely gullible
Wow.
and believed the counselor when they told me I was not college material and that I did not belong on the campus. And so I self sabotaged and came home and realized that as I was raising my children, um, I was smarter than what they said I was. I always was pretty smart, but college was something I wasn't prepared for. I'd never been away from home. And so that whole experience was something that was very foreign. I grew up in schools where we were predominantly the only Black female, the only Black student. But it was quite a different experience being on a college campus and being in a classroom of hundreds and being one or two Blacks in the entire room. And it was quite obvious at that time that K State wasn't ready for us. And
Mm,
we were often told that we needed to go home, with the wonderful N word, go home. It was a different experience. And so I believed what they told me about me, and I came home. And for years, I wasn't interested in going back to college and had a wonderful friend that said, I'm going to take all your excuses away. And then I had three kids and was working a part-time job. And she says, I'm going to send you back to college. And I got an A in my very first class. And from that point, I was business law. And from that point on, I got straight A's all the way through my bachelor's degree and all the way through, my associates, my bachelor's, and all the way through to the master's. Straight A's the entire way. And realized that although I did not feel I was ever good at math, I love statistics. That you'll have to edit out. I love statistics and did an absolutely incredible job in my statistics classes and understood relativity of numbers and understood sequences of numbers and understood the cycles of numbers and quality assurance measurements and all of those things that was very foreign to most Black people. I think there were only two of us in the class, but we had an appetite for it, and myself and another young lady, we did extremely well in that program. So I had my master's degree and immediately got hired at the federal government. Was a quality assurance manager and managed the Census Bureau data collection efforts on race and race equality during the time when they were changing the race questions and giving more variables for people to choose for race categories. So we had to quantify that from 2020 back to the previous race data that was collected, and that was the start of my love for my job. In 2012, let's see, 2012, the federal government decided to restructure the organization and close 6 offices nationwide and close the office in Kansas City, which was a very big surprise because we were one of the top 3 offices in the nation in data quality and production and budget. But yet they still closed our office, and it was a great shock to everyone in the office, but not to me because I was already decreeing things that they're going to pay me to leave. And I'm not, no matter, being a Black female in a white male dominated field. It's very difficult office to be working in, but I love what I did. I love my job. And I love what I was able to teach people about micro and macroeconomics. Um, I loved the response and the reaction of turning the light bulb on in people's heads. And so my project was number 1, number 2, or number 3 in the nation each and every month for the duration of the time I ran that project on for CDC. I was contracted for CDC and did medical data research and absolutely loved what I did. It was a good marriage of my legal background and my medical background, and so it was a great project to be on, and ended up with 3 of the health projects for CDC that I managed in 6 states, over 200 staff, over 12 supervisors in the field, and office staff that was on my team. Huge responsibility, and then I became a manager, and I kept those projects and managed supervisors who had other projects, and so it was a huge responsibility. And when it was time to close the office, I also oversaw closing the office. But I knew I was an entrepreneur. In the midst of all that, I still ran my own business. Evenings and weekends, I ran a wedding and event design business and planning business, and had it from the time I was in my early 20s on up until I left the federal government. My mom was a caterer, my daughter was the photographer, and I was the planner and decorator. And we ran that family threesome for many years. And when I left the federal government, I left the government, went right into my full time entrepreneurial experience, which was a huge eye opener for me. I had went back to school, to business school, and graduated from business school. And yet I thought I had everything on lock. You know, the federal government paid me very well to leave. Received my 6-figure salary after I left, a severance package, payout of my vacation time and sick time, and had a great amount of money in the bank. Left the federal government, went from December being a federal government employee, January, my business was open full time. But the financial side of that journey was a huge learning experience. And that is why I'm here today doing what I do. My story was one that I told God I didn't want any other entrepreneur going down the road I went down, because I had the education, I had the money, which is very rare in our community. I had the knowledge. I had a thriving business for 25 years before I went into a full time brick and mortar location. But that whole experience turned my world upside down. And I realized there were so many things that hit on the financial side of running that business that I didn't want to see another Black entrepreneur go through what I went through. There were things that should not have happened. And there were areas where the lack of understanding of the financial side of business hit me in ways that I wasn't prepared for. And I had money. And then I wondered what is happening to other entrepreneurs who were not properly prepared as I was to take the entrepreneurial journey, who didn't have over $350,000 sitting in the bank, who did not have the years of education, management, structure, organizational design, launch strategies, all of that information, except for the financial side of business. So that's my introduction to entrepreneurship. And that's why I'm out here in this city and across the nation doing what we do for Black entrepreneurs. Yeah.
Wow, wow, that's awesome. Um, so Dr. Watson, I mean, you have really, really an impressive background,
Yeah.
and you definitely have the type of background that resonates with me. Like I said, I've always considered myself an armchair economist. I got a minor in economics myself, but and even though I gravitated towards politics, you know, the numbers have always been the thing that has allowed me to cut through the BS, as I, as I like
Mhm.
to say in politics. Because sometimes, you know, having conversations with people about politics, their emotions, you know, and me myself, my emotions, I get, get involved, and just having the conversations, and when you're trying to enlighten people about certain things, sometimes, you know, the emotions can be okay and they can have their place, but it just really doesn't make sense when you start to put the numbers down
Consumer
and you start
politics
to
is business. It's strictly business.
right.
It's the endeavors to run our county government, our city government, our state and federal is strictly business. And that's why at one point in time, uh, politics and entrepreneurship went hand in hand. I don't know what it's doing now, but at one time, business owners were the political leaders because of their understanding of the numbers. And so that whole process is expected. Today it's not, but it should be expected that people who have an understanding of how to run a business would be the people running the city, the governments, the state, the federal, making decisions because they understand business. And they're not in that seat because of popularity contests. It is strictly because they know business.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And so Miss Watson, going off of what you just said, right there, what would you say has been the biggest influence? Because I know you spoke about some things, when you went to school, and you said that the environment really wasn't right for you at that particular time. Um, what would you say from your experience was the, I guess, the thing that allowed you to, I know you got encouragement from a friend, but what did you draw on to help you to, I guess, get through that moment of that situation of going back into it, and being able to push forward to actually get to where you are, or well, as far as
Mhm.
your education is concerned.
I think it was my faith. I knew from as an early child that, well, I knew I was smart. Probably the only kid you knew would know that read the Encyclopedia Britannica from beginning to end,
Oh
every
my.
single A through Z. That's
Oh
who I
wow.
was. So I knew I was smart. I was extremely shy and awkward um, kid coming up. And so my confidence wasn't strong in who I was. I was very, very shy. Probably would never have spoken to you if we were in the same room. We're the only two in the same room. That's how shy I was coming up. And so I had been put in an environment I wasn't ready for. But when I matured, and some kids don't mature at age 18. Some mature later on, and I matured much later, um, which was a testament to who I was as a late bloomer as a kid, and I was just very shy and withdrawn. So it was my faith in God and understanding who I was in Christ and what He has allowed me to experience, and that He put me on this earth for a reason. And I went on a quest to know what that reason was and what I was supposed to do and what impact I was supposed to make in the world. And I've stayed in church environments where that type of teaching nurtured who I was, and realizing I was called to be an entrepreneur. It wasn't a decision that I made, it's my DNA disposition is formulated that I am an entrepreneur. Just all the factors didn't make sense until I learned more about who I was. And going to a faith based business school, Dr. Bill Winston's Joseph Business School was life to me from Chicago, Illinois. And I became an adjunct professor for the school. I taught business for them for
What was,
about
Dr. Watson, what was the name of that school again?
Joseph Business School. It's in Chicago, Illinois. It's a faith based international business school. And so I graduated from the school in 2009, 2008, and became an adjunct professor in 2009, became part of the administrative staff over the school in 2010. And I continued to teach for them until about 2014. And then I stepped back, but I was an administrator, and adjunct professor, student advisor, student coach, and had students from around the world that I worked with. And it helped to really solidify my calling in entrepreneurship, but in the educational side to entrepreneurship. My job with the federal government, I taught classes for our staff, taught them. I actually rewrote the government curriculum because it wasn't explaining the economic side of the job to the staff for them to really care about the work they were doing. They really had to understand the bigger picture of our economy and how everything is connected together that produces the world that we see today on a financial spectrum. And
Wow.
so they called me to Washington, D.C. to find out what I was doing to get the results I was doing. the deputy director said, send her here because she's doing something we're not doing. And we need to know what she's doing because she's getting results on a consistent basis every single solitary month. There's something she's doing. And I was a little afraid to tell them that I rewrote their curriculum. But I did because we're taking people off the street that we were teaching economics, and it was difficult for them to appreciate the job without having an understanding of how their role played into giving a good picture snapshot of how our economy is functioning. And once I turned that light bulb on in the heads of the people that we employed, they went out there with a different understanding of the importance of their job. So when I became a business owner, I just drew on all of those skills that I had. And I truly believe that God allowed me to be in that environment to teach me how to understand the correlation between the financial side of everything we do and how important the numbers are. As a statistician, those numbers meant everything. That data told us what was happening across the nation in healthcare, which was extremely important to know all what was being experienced in healthcare, from the patients going to the hospital, going to the doctor's office, going to taking medications, treatment and protocols, and all of those things I knew about from my background in the health arena. So that confidence is what changed everything for me. Knowing who I was and what I was called to do, everything on my journey to becoming an entrepreneur was part of the fabric, that thread that was woven through that fabric that made me who I am today. Every place I stopped in employment gave me something that I could put into how I run my organization and what I do in business today. When we don't realize it's all connected, we take for granted every place we stop and everything we do in our career. But God's just amazing at how he uses everything for our good. And that's what happened in my life.
Yeah, no, that is that's a statement that I consistently try to remind folks about, that it's all connected. It's
Yes,
all connected.
all
And
relative.
so since it's all connected, there are no real absolutes. You're gonna have a trade-off here, you're gonna have a trade-off there.
Absolutely.
And so, Dr. Watson, let me ask you this, because, like I said, when I started to study economics, that's when things started to make sense. In the
Mhm.
political science department, well, and let me say this: I learned while studying economics at UMKC about the jokes about from the that economists have about political science people, right? And so in the economics department, the joke is that in political science, or in economics, the first rule is scarcity, but in political science, the first rule is to forget about the first rule of economics. and,
There's no
and
scarcity in politics. So yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah,
Everybody can get what they want.
yes,
You can have it when
yes.
you want.
Make
And so
everybody happy. Just write a
exactly.
bill, pass a law,
Exactly.
change legislation. Everybody's happy.
Exactly.
I get it.
And, and so with that being said, Dr. Watson, what would you say? And I think I know your answer already, but what would you say would be or let me ask it this way. So we have a lot of conversation going on right now about reparations for Black people, and a lot of those conversations that I've been listening to seems to associate the need for reparations because of the wealth gap and certain
Mhm.
inequalities among certain demographics. In your belief and from your expertise, Dr. Watson, what would you say would be the fundamental cornerstone of wealth development in the Black community, and would reparations be a positive or a negative for us?
I believe that the only wealth pathway for us is entrepreneurship. period. It's the only career pathway a person can take where they can determine how much money they want to make, and they can make as much money as they want to make. There is no other career pathway. I apologize if I offend anyone, but when you have a job, it's called the journey of the broke. You're going to stay on that journey because they dictate what you can earn. And they give you just enough to give you the sense and the feeling that you're doing something and you're on top of the world. They can take it away from you whenever they decide to as well. But that sense of security from that job is to keep you coming back faithfully. You cannot show up or your whole economic and financial world crumbles. So that's number one. Entrepreneurship is our only pathway to wealth. There is no other. That journey will never produce wealth. It will give you a sense of comfort in knowing where you are at in life, but it will never produce wealth. In entrepreneurship, we are in control of our own destiny. We decide. And when we teach our students to understand the financial side of business and implement financial strategies that will give them the ability to earn as much money as they desire to see come into the business, they're in control of their own destiny. And that's a liberating mindset. And I'm in control. And so let's talk about reparations. I am apologizing up front for those of you who do not understand the financial side of life and the economic indicators that is showing where our community is today. We are at the bottom. People that look like us, we are at the very bottom of the economic scale in all indicators. There's not one indicator that we are above anyone. Household income size, household ownership, employment, education, wealth, money in the bank, credit scores, all of the two-parent household, all indicators, we're at the bottom. All of those are wealth indicators. Every single one of them are wealth indicators. We currently are at the bottom. Now, I want to say something to our community because a lot of the reasons that we are at the bottom is our mindset. It has nothing to do today in 2024 with slavery. And then marinate for a moment. It has nothing to do with slavery. It has 100% to do with our current mindset. Now that we put that on the table, y'all write your letters and emails to Darren. You're not getting my email.
Let me catch all the smoke on that one because I was the one that brought it up. So
it's okay.
Again, I'm the politician, so I promise you I'll catch all the smoke on that one.
And I'm the numbers girl. And when we look at the numbers don't lie.
Right.
They don't lie. So the numbers tell the truth.
Because you said something about the two-parent household, and I think because from my perspective and from what I've seen, looking at the numbers as well, I think a lot of times we neglect the importance of that two-parent household.
I'm a product of a single parent household. My mom raised all six of us kids by herself, and we lived in absolute poverty.
Yeah, and I am as well.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean,
Dr. Watson, explain a little bit how even just the basic necessity of the difference that is created from because like you said, you have the experience of the single parent household, and I think that a lot of times we are consistently as a community given the impression that your independence and your freedom and all these things should be front and center, But when we talk about, and especially, you come from the census department, so you know that the
Yeah.
economic unit of the country is the household. And so when when you are so adamant about, and when we say a household, that means there's a child involved that is a dependent of someone. And so explain a little bit, if you can, or I know you can, but or break it down a little bit to how we should really start to have a higher priority with the management of these two-parent households and the creation of these two-parent households.
Mhm. Absolutely. Um, from my own childhood, growing up in lack and growing up in poverty and growing up with not having my basic needs met, and then being blessed to marry my husband at an early age and realizing what I missed. I want to talk about the emotional side, which hopefully our community will catch because we do a lot of things from an emotional perspective, and we're emotional beings. Probably there's an extra fiber cord in our chromosomes that releases the emotions in our community. God gave us some extra fiber cords in the chromosomes. And so, because we are emotional beings, first, I want to talk about the emotional side of this whole journey. Um, you don't know what you don't know until you're exposed to it. You
Mm,
don't know what you missed until you are really exposed to it. And when I saw my husband with our daughters, they are all three daddy's girls. They are spoiled by him. We used to have discussions over him bringing home gifts for them every Friday when he got paid. And I'm saying you're creating little tyrants out of them. But they were his girls. He loves his daughters, and they were everything to him. I didn't see that growing up. My mom and dad divorced when I was in kindergarten, so we were not illegitimate children. Although my father has a lot of them, we were not. We were the only children he had in a marriage, and that's why my mom and my dad divorced, because I had brothers and sisters 1 year older than me, one same age as me, one under me. And so that was, six other kids out there. And so in one day she just realized this is what I want. And so she moved, she divorced him, and we grew up in the projects for the first season of our life. And it wasn't until I saw what benefit it was having my children having their father in the home. Now, not every situation is perfect, and not everything is endurable, because marriage is a lot. It's work. I spent the first 25 years in the wedding industry, also as a marriage mentor. Marriage is work. It's probably one of the hardest jobs you will ever commit to do in your entire life, and it is a commitment. And because God is a covenant keeper, I was intent on keeping my covenant. After a whole cycle of things, I was committed to keep the covenant of marriage, not for me, but also for my children. I wanted them to see what a healthy family looked like, because I didn't have that option to see what a healthy family looked like. And so there were so many things that we were exposed to as children because my mom had to work two jobs. We raised ourselves. We were in our home by ourselves. And there were times that there were unhealthy people connected to her that caused situations to happen. Five little girls in a house. And you can imagine what those outcomes were, because she could not be there to protect us and see what was happening at all times. That's what happens when you're trying to do this thing by yourself. My brother, we had one brother, and he longed for another male, his father or a brother. He wanted his father, and he grew up without him. My brother's an amazing man, an amazing pastor, father, husband, all of that, because he longed for that in his own life. I think that that was what helped me to stay on this journey and to be married to one person all these years, because I long for a family, a real family unit, and a healthy family unit. And we were not healthy children. I thank God for the word of God and men and women of God who has poured into me to help shape who I am today. But we were not healthy children. And that's just the reality. We were lacking. Our other half of us was lacking that male influence, that father figure, that feeling and sense of who we are because he poured into us. We didn't get that. So that's the emotional side. Your children are not whole. I don't care what you say, what lie society tells you that you can be the mother and the father, or the father and the mother. That's a lie from the pit of hell. So we won't even talk about lies. Y'all write Darren all the letters you want to. I'm not interested in having that conversation. There are
Right.
some things in life that are absolute. I don't care what you say. And one of these days, you're going to stand before God and you'll figure it out. But until then, I'm going to let you do your journey. I'm going to do mine. I know that your children are not healthy and they're not whole. And our society shows it. We have some of the most unhealthy children mentally, emotionally. Um, Mental health is a huge issue today in our country because we are bringing up children in households that are unhealthy and out of balance. And you need both estrogen and testosterone to create a balance. And unfortunately, when one is lacking, there is an imbalance. Science to tell you that. So
Wow.
on the journey, um, the economic side. Um, when my mom was trying to raise 6 kids by herself, oftentimes our lights were cut off. We didn't have gas, and that was in the day when they can cut your lights off. And it could be 0 degrees outside. They cut your gas off.
Right.
And they did. I mean, it's 102 degrees in Kansas City. They cut your lights out. You're like,
Right.
where? It's 0, 15 below back then when we were coming up.
Right.
They cut your gas off, and you better figure it out. That was the time that I grew up. I'm a lot. I celebrate my 65th birthday this Friday. I'm a lot older than I'm.
Oh, wow.
That's been real good. And black don't
Amen.
crack. That's just the. Sorry, people. Black don't crack.
That's right. Happy early birthday,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Watson.
Thank you. And so the financial side of life was very difficult. And I teach our students in our program that we have to address our money story in our community. And when we have an unhealthy relationship with money, because money was never there for us, money was something that we were told if we had it, life would be different, but we don't have it. So there are things you cannot have, your basic needs you can't have, shoes you can't have, clothes you can't have, food you can't have, things you need in life you can't have because money is an issue. And so we often have to address the money story because it wasn't a friend, wasn't there
Wow.
for us when we needed it.
Wow. That's interesting that you and I that was even the next thing that I wanted to get to, Dr. Watson,
Well,
is
I
your
want to talk
organization.
about reparations. So let me address that real quick.
Okay, okay, yeah,
Let
okay,
me
go
give
ahead, go
you.
ahead.
I know we're probably going longer than we should, but
No, no,
gotta,
no. Look,
I
look,
got to
Dr.
address
Watson, I
this.
promise you, I wanted to I set aside whatever
Okay,
time that you
excellent.
need. When you tell me to shut it
Well,
down,
you're gonna
I'll
make
shut it
several
down.
segments out of this because I have to address and whoo, saw. Okay, I have to have to address reparations because I have to take it back to something I which put a burning fire inside of me back in the 80s. When I stumbled across a video called How to Sell to the Negro,
Mm,
which was a
wow.
training
Wow. I've
video for
seen that. Seen
salespeople.
that. Yep. I've seen
Yes.
that.
And I stumbled across that video years ago, late 80s, early 90s, How to Sell to the Negro,
Mm,
and the whole series of training. That was
mhm.
when Black people began to come into some form of discretionary income where we had a few dollars above what it took for us to take care of our family and our household. So corporate America created a campaign to get the Negroes dollars.
Wow.
It
Wow.
was a full training
Wow.
series that blew
Right.
across corporate
Right.
America, and every corporate entity immediately saw that Black America had
Money.
$2.50 left over after paying all of their living expenses they had $2.50 left over.
Hey, Dr. Watson, I like how you put that, because you know the song, "These last $2 I'm not gonna lose," right? Well, guess what? Now he got $2.50. So come on,
And
let me get
corporate
that.
America said,
I
let's get
want
that
it.
$2.50 because the Negro likes shiny things. The
Right,
Negro likes name brand. The
right,
Negro feels important when the Negro buys something with
right,
a name on it.
right.
And corporate America set out to get every dollar the Negro had left over. It shifted its whole focus. I want you to hear me, people. Corporate America shifted its entire marketing strategies, and it's been that way ever since, to go after every single extra dollar, not even extra, every dollar the Negro had. It has been, from the 80s until now, a direct assault on the households of Black America, that corporate America is going to cater everything it produces to sell it to you, to keep you poor,
Mm,
to
mm,
keep you buying disposable items, to keep you entrenched with chasing after name brands, to keep you locked in living above your means, so you will not have any economic power, clout, or wealth or positioning, that you'll never be a threat to them.
mm, mm, mm.
That's why I'm against reparations.
Wow.
Because the very day that check hits Pookie and Ray Ray, Shaquita, Shaquan's bank account, and I'm sorry if that's offensive to some of you, I can say John, Bill, Jack, Jimmy, Cindy, Linda,
Right.
Lucy. The minute that check hits your bank account and you don't know anything about money, corporate America is going to be all over you. And
Right.
in less than 3 years, I want you to hear me, people. In less than 3 years, you will be broker than you were before you got that check.
Mm,
And America will say, we have given you everything you were owed. We owe you nothing else. And consequently, all of your social programs,
will be
free
gone.
lunch for Johnny, extra books and supplies and materials the school's giving, free haircuts, your turkey at Thanksgiving. I want to see a world that we don't need free, FREE. Black folks won't need free.
Right.
But when you have exhausted everything that America feels it owes you, and you're not ready to have it in your hand, and you allow your appetite to cause you to spend every dime you bring in, we're going to be in trouble,
Right.
because they're never going to give you another thing. Your SSI card for your child having ADHD or physical ailments or mental issues is going to be gone. These are programs that are strictly and specifically being used at a higher rate. Work for Social Security for 8 years. These are programs that the Black community is using more than any other, because it's our kids. It's not theirs. It's 3 to 1. 3 of our kids diagnosed with ADHD and ADD, and 1 of theirs. And so I believe it's now 5 to 1, because they figured out the game. And so they figured out how to get qualification for Black kids, because that gives them more title dollars, so they can create more after school and extra programs. So the system is built on diagnosing your children with ADHD and ADD, because the school gets the extra dollars. And so they're going to make sure they are diagnosing enough kids to meet the extra budget. So that's a whole nother story. But I want you to understand, all of those programs will go away. Your SNAP card will go away. Your healthcare card, Medicaid card will go away. Your school lunch program will go away. Your supplementing your childcare program will go away. Your Section 8 program will go away. Your health, all of them, all of these programs that the federal government funds, all the way from the federal level to the state level to the city level to the county level, all of those programs will go away, because they will say they even the playing field. You got enough money to take care of what we owe you, so you figure it out from that point on. Black America's not ready for that. And so I am 100% against reparations at this season in Black America's life, because Black America needs financial training.
Wow.
Personal economic training. Without it, every red cent will be in the pockets of white corporate America, Asian corporate America, Jewish corporate America, Hispanic corporate America, but it will not be in our pockets.
Wow.
And so consequently, I'm against it because we're not ready, and it will be the demise of the Black community. And I believe we're going to get it because that's one of the only ways by 2053 the Black community will have zero net worth. It's already, economists, analysts have already said by 2053, the Black community will have zero economic wealth. We will be the absolute total bottom of our whole society. That's one of the reasons we're going to end up there. The second reason is the transformation of our society from a cash society to a technological, let me get that correct, so you might want to take that part. The transformation of our society to a technological financial society, and we won't be able to compete there either because of the lack of understanding of technology. Those are the two reasons the Black community will have zero economic clout, positioning, status, net worth by 2053. So it is going to happen because
you're saying that's based off of a calculation of receiving the reparations.
Absolutely.
Wow.
No, the zero clout and economic positioning of our community is already there right now.
Right.
But as a whole, we will be at zero because we will have every dollar enticed out of our bank account when corporate America seizes upon our community. And as it is today, we spend over $1 trillion, and I think it's close to 2 trillion. We spend that on disposable goods right now.
Wow.
We are keeping and propping up the whole economic society that we see today. It is the Black dollar that is propping up all of these industries. I at one time got the report, and I'm sorry, I'm a pack rat. It's in my office somewhere.
Oh, no.
Of what Black people spend our money on an annual basis, and where we spend those dollars. And those dollars were not being spent. That over a trillion. And so I'm a type of person, I got to get my facts straight. And so I'm doing a Google search right now, is what is the spending power. I have to do this in class because I don't want to tell folks numbers that are not correct. And I make my students do the math. And so we can make sure. Plus, as a previous statistician, I know numbers don't lie.
That's what I was about to say. You sound like a good statistician.
African Americans have estimated 1.6 trillion in spending power.
Wow.
Continue to lag behind all other groups in the U.S. as a whole in terms of financial wellness. And whereas there's a strong link between financial literacy and financial wellness among African Americans, I rest my case. We are not ready. If we are spending, okay, I'm so sorry. I have to take the time to do this. What is white America spending? And I know the population is relative. So I make the students do this in class. You can't give me any numbers off the top of your head. You can't pull them out of your woosah. Okay. Oh, God. All right. It starts, this little narrative is how brands can tap into the 1.4 trillion in buying power in the Black community. They're already working on it. This is 2023, May 17th. They already know we're going to get reparations. We're going to twist not this next president, but 2 presidents down, we're gonna get it. We're gonna twist their cord, and they're gonna give us the money. And so, what my I want to know what white Americas, and so hopefully we'll get that. But it's already a whole process of the buying power of white America is not coming up. So that's for those of you out there who a number of people like me, send Darren what white America spends on average annually. And we're spending 1.9, 1.6 to 1.9 trillion, TRILLION, trillion dollars. I'm not finding it so on white America, but I'm looking at the spending habits, which are so different than our spending habits, based on what we bring in every month in income or asset that we might own, or disposable income our assets generate.
Wow. Wow.
Unacceptable. Unacceptable on so many levels. And to see where we spend those dollars blew my mind,
Right.
because
Right.
it is not with Black businesses that we spend our dollars. It
Right.
is Walgreens, Walmart, and major brand stores. We spend the majority of our dollars on disposable goods. And the report broke it down to numbers that just was absolutely weave and nails and all of those things, and clothing and tennis shoes, all of those things that America is using to get us addicted to our external appearance and our external life. Cars, Cadillacs, number one. And so the they're trying to say that the reason they're showing more Black people in commercials is because they're wanting to allow Black actors to have a job. It's deeper than that. When you understand autosuggestion and imagery and
Right.
and what tell a vision
Right.
was created to do, well, it was created to entertain. But when America figured out it can subliminally change the minds of people, it became a all-out assault to change the minds of Black people, and to put us in a position that we will spend every penny that comes in our hands, and we will have nothing to fight with. And television has been extremely successful in telling us what our appetite should be. Not books,
Wow.
not learning, sports, entertainment. That's what our appetite should be. And so they've done an excellent job of teaching from generation to generation. I believe that video was from the early 50s, when America realized we had discretionary income and came after it and began to suck us into this vacuum of excess, this vacuum of materialism, this vacuum of living a lifestyle that gave us an equal experience. They created that mindset, and then
Right.
they fed the mindset, and we've been eating that diet ever since. And we are not ready for reparations. And God, please don't give it to us yet, because it will destroy us. Every person that has ever received any form of money above what they have the capacity to manage, their lives have been worse off after receiving the money.
Right.
That's going to be Black America.
Right. Right. Well, Dr. Watson, we're coming close to an hour, but I don't think I've given you enough time, or I would like for you to speak more about on your organization right now, and how it is highly involved in correcting some of these things that are taking place within the community. So Please introduce the Black Mastermind group for
Yes.
us.
The Black Mastermind Group is an organization I started in 2012. And at that time, I just did not want to see. I'm sorry. Yeah, I started in 2012. It really took wings in 2015. I didn't want to see another Black entrepreneur go through what I went through. And the areas where I felt I was inadequate. Again, I didn't have a doctorate then. I had my master's degree. I was a statistician. I started my journey with $350,000. I'd already been in business 25 years and lost everything. I mean, everything. And it is still recovery happening to restore where I was financially before all of the demise happened. And I said the day I picked up a penny off the floor in my office and realized that that penny was all I had left to my name.
Mm.
That was every bank account, stocks gone, CDs gone, um, money market accounts gone, funds, my retirement fund gone. Um, all that I saved for the full period of 14 years that I worked for the government, I was on a savings spree. Every extra dime I got in my hands went into my savings account, and woke up one day and realized everything was gone. And that penny was all I had. And fighting tears back, I looked at that penny and it said, "In God we trust." And I have to be real transparent with you at that moment. I was like, God, I trusted you. And this is what happened to me. Um, how how can I trust you with the
Mm.
rest of my life?
Mm.
But I held that penny and I cried for weeks and months over all that was lost, but also all that I didn't understand. Um, I learned the law of leveraging, and if I'd known it before, now, and I let me back up. I was leveraging my money, which gave me the ability to get to $350,000. 150 of that was cash. The other 100 or so came from my severance package, and 25,000 from payout. So all of that combined, but I had saved over 180, and then 2008 housing market crash wiped me out $30,000. And I'm like, oh Lord, I got to start all over again because my goal was 150. And so I got back to 150 before I left the government. And so all of the money combined that had come through my hand, um, I knew I didn't have time to save that type of money again, nor was I interested in going back to work, although I tried different things. But I knew that I was an entrepreneur then. And so I had to say, I didn't sow this. I'm not a person that sows things into people's lives to bring calamity back in mine. I'm very careful about sowing things. And I'm not reaping anything. So if I didn't sow it and I'm not reaping it, I had to step back and say, okay, God, what are you trying to teach me?
Mhm.
What am I supposed to learn? After I blew my nose and wiped my eyes and stopped crying, I realized there was something in all of that that I needed to learn. For one, I had my little Facebook television show where I would turn it on. I traveled for the government and I would go to places where I would intentionally find Black entrepreneurs and I would interview them. And, we got a tendency to tell that pretty story when the camera is on. And so I was already a trained coach, mentor, and entrepreneurial teacher. And so I was teaching entrepreneurship. So I knew instantly what I saw when I walked into someone's business. I could see operations and systems and structure, and I could tell everything's not up and up on this business. And so when the camera would turn off, I would get the real story. I get the tears. I don't know how I'm going to keep my doors open. We're barely
Mm.
making ends meet. Um, we're in the hole. I hadn't paid myself in I don't know how long. I don't know
Mm.
how we're going to make it. I'm going from state to state to state across this nation because I traveled a lot for the government, lived out of suitcases for them for 14 years. And I made an intent to find Black businesses in every community I went in and interview them. And they all said the same thing.
Mm.
I'm serious. I said, something is wrong. with this journey. Something's not adding up for Black entrepreneurs. Something is happening to us. That was 2008, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Even after I left the government, I took on some assignments for different projects that I was working on, teaching doctors. I still would go into different places and ask questions. Even today, I still interview Black entrepreneurs, and the narrative is still the same. We are not okay. And so, after what happened to me in 2015, 2017, I closed all my businesses. I had multiple locations. I had 3 event facilities in Kansas City. And that is a whole teaching of itself when you're running a business that doesn't produce revenue 12 months of the year. So I immediately learned instantly why my business would never be successful and how white America runs venues. 99% of them are owned by white males who own commercial real estate, who happen to have a venue in their commercial building. So that venue is just a cash cow. It has absolutely no bearing on their economic position. That is just something they do to generate free money. And freestanding venues will never work. So please, Black Americans, stop opening freestanding venues unless you have a huge wealth stream. And most freestanding venues are owned by foundations or other entities or organizations. They're not owned by individuals. And I went into that and lost every penny I had to my name and realized there was things about the journey I didn't understand, the financial strategies that went with that industry. We're not exposed to those strategies. Well, I am now because of all the things that I've done in training entrepreneurs and then training myself to understand entrepreneurship at a level that I didn't get on my college journey. None of this happened when I was in college. And then the financial side of business, which I knew was my weak area for things to happen the way they happened in my life, there was things about the financial side of business I didn't know. And it's specifically accessing capital. Because if I would have leveraged my money to the in the same way I did to grow my fund, if I had continued to leverage my money the same way I did to grow my fund, I would still have my money in the bank today. But there are things about the lending process I did not know until I became a lender and a branch manager for First Merchants Financial Services. And my first training, my eyes were like this. What? Why don't we know this? Why hasn't anybody taught us this? What in the world? How come we are out here and we don't know the money side of this journey? We're out here addicted to making money, but know absolutely nothing about money. That's Black entrepreneurship. And COVID exposed. Most people don't know that 42% of Black businesses that closed, if you do the math, we had 2.4 licensed registered, those businesses that pay taxes and report to IRS. We had 2.4 of those on the records that had an LLC that are a identified legal structure with the state. But in actuality, we had 2.7 million businesses out there in the marketplace because they know you out there doing business. They just ain't addressed you yet. They know. And so if we did the math on that, that's between 1,100,000 to 1,080,000 Black businesses doors closed in 3 months, 90 days of COVID. Almost half of all Black businesses were wiped off the country's map. That was the eye opener that we are not running businesses. We are running hobbies, hookups, and hustles, and we're calling them business. And I said, we can't do this anymore. We just cannot. I started the program in 2019. In actuality, I started back in 2015 in my city, in Kansas City. I'm bringing in business trainers from around the nation I'm bringing in business experts. I had a wedding and event facility. And so I had the space so I could bring people in. And I could tell you right now, our entrepreneurs do not have an appetite to know about financials in business. When I threw a party now, my place was packed. Wall to wall.
Right,
Fellow
right,
folks. But
right.
when I put on a seminar, a brown bag lunch experience that you came in and we gave you the lunch and you sat down and learned about the financial side of business, I had maybe 10 people, 12 people show up. We
Wow.
are not interested in learning about financial matters, but yet we're out there in the financial industry, entrepreneurship. We're out there in the financial world, but we don't want to know anything about financial matters. And consequently, we're not running businesses. We
Right.
are running hobbies, hookups, and hustles. And we are calling it business because of one thing. The definition we've been told business is the exchange of goods and services for money.
Mm,
That's not
mm.
the
Right,
definition of business.
right,
It is the
right,
exchange of goods and services for money that produces a profit.
right,
We're not
right,
producing a profit. We're addicted to money. We're not producing a profit. So, consequently, 87% of Black entrepreneurs cannot and have not qualified for capital
right,
because we're not running businesses, because capital is given to businesses that are producing sustainable profit. By the definition of business, the lending and investment community says they got hobbies, they got
right,
hookups, and they flat out hustlers. And we don't do hobbies, hookups, and God forbid, we will never give a hustler that come to the table with 3, 4, 5 businesses. We will never give a hustler a dime. And I'm sitting in training, and they didn't say it in those terms, but I got it. When they kind of said people who show up in business and they're not sure of which direction to go. And so they show up with multiple businesses. We can't fund them because we know that to divide money over so many different pots, the likelihood of being successful in any of those endeavors diminishes by the number of extra activities they're doing in business. So they're non-fundable entities.
right,
Mhm. And people that are running hobbies, sole proprietorships, and they're glorified hobbies, well, we know we can't fund their endeavors because they're still in their home operating, and the capital we give them for the business is most likely going to be used in other areas of their home because they haven't separated what they generate from the business from what they produce or use it for in their personal life. They're non-fundable as well. And people that do business where they are dependent upon one business entity or relationship, and that's that hookup. They've gotten hooked up with that entity, and that's all they do is cater to that one part or one customer, one client, or one segment of business. That's non-fundable too, because all their eggs are in one basket. If the bottom ball falls out of the basket, we're not going to get our money back. They're non-fundable too. And I'm sitting there going, who has ever said that to us? Business models are fundable or non-fundable. They have particular categories that they will fund and categories they will not. And unfortunately, what we create are non-fundable business entities. And we will never access capital. If we get another wave of pandemic, crisis, economic downturn, our businesses are going to be wiped off the face of the map. And for me, that was 1,100,000 families with children
mm,
that in the midst of COVID, how did they survive in the Black community? The business is wiped out. Everything that produced a lifestyle or an income or a living for that family is gone. That's Black, that's Black America. That's almost half of everybody out there, 2019 to March 20th, 2020. Everybody out there thought everything was good. And 90 days later, June, their business is shut down because they're living on revenue. And the rule of business, most people don't know, is that you can't spend revenue generated in that calendar year during that calendar year. Who's telling us that? You are supposed to capitalize the business while revenue sets for the next year. So you're always earning 1 year in advance than what
Right.
you're spending.
Right.
But we're doing what all of the financial world is saying creates a non-fundable business entity. We're bootstrapping our revenue, and we proudly say it. And there's some instructors and programs that will tell you you got to bootstrap, but they don't know the financial side of business. If you're bootstrapping, you're non-fundable.
Right.
They won't touch you with a 10-foot pole if you're living off revenue generated in that calendar year. And yet, who's telling our community? And these conversations never made it outside of the lending community's conversations in the boardroom until now. And so shame on you, Black people, that you are banking and financial industry people. Shame on you, because you don't want all of us to catch up. You only want your circle to catch up. You want to see to it that all of us don't get to the table. You want to make sure you got that tokenism mentality. You want to make sure that only certain people get to the table. So you withheld all this information, but I'm not. I'm spilling all the tea. I'm telling all the secrets. Anybody sit still long enough in a classroom, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about the financial side of business. And then it will spill over into your personal life. Then we're going to see some things change in what we are doing in the Black community concerning business. Now, post-COVID, white America is not borrowing money at the rate that it was prior to COVID. So the banking industry is in trouble, and they're struggling. And so they're creating programs again because now it's acceptable to lend to Black people. And so we got a lot of lending partners that are calling us saying the wording got out. Our students are better prepared than any other students that's trying to access capital. And so they at least know our students know about financial strategies. And so they're calling to partner with us so that we can help get more Black entrepreneurs access to capital because the banking industry is struggling. They make their money off of loans.
Right.
They're not making loans.
Right.
White America is not borrowing money. So now they're wanting,
Right.
I'm sorry, I got to say it. They want to sell to the Negro.
Right. Well, at least that particular sales process holds more value than some sneakers.
It's true. If we know
what to do.
If we know what to do, because when we borrow money and turn around and spend it, we are still feeding the system.
Right.
But if we borrow money and put it in a bank account and leverage it, we're beating the system.
Right.
But we haven't learned to beat the system yet. And my heart's just overwhelmed with how much we don't know about how the economic system works and how our counterparts send their children to school at age 13 to learn. They go to financial camp every summer from 13 to 18, and then they go to college. Where are our kids at every summer at age 13? They're out back playing. They're outside running. They're not in a classroom learning financials, learning business financials, because everybody but our community knows we are a business society. Capitalism is a democratic concept. Our democracy is built on capitalism. And without capitalism, America would not exist. So everybody's got their kids in a classroom learning, but the minority community,
Mm.
the brown and black minority community. We don't have our kids in a classroom every summer learning about business financials because we're a business world. Everything that exists in the world today is existent at from some form of doing business. The whole world functions. The whole economic system is built on selling and buying of goods and services. Without it, our world doesn't exist. The whole epicenter of our whole society is built on business. And our community knows nothing about that side of the world that we exist in. And consequently, we're in the most dangerous place than any other community on the face of the earth today. Black people.
Man, wow. Look, Dr. Watson, we about 15 minutes over the hour, but look, I didn't want to cut you off. I didn't want to stop you. I know you got an incredibly busy schedule, but I did want you, to share and expound on everything that you felt on your heart this morning. And I think that it was a master class in itself. I'm definitely going to tell people, hey man, make a donation to the campaign, because what you're
Ah,
going to get here
thank
is a
you.
is a master class. So please
Yes,
let people know how they can get in contact with you. And then
absolutely.
also, I know you got the conference come up, and then we'll go ahead and wrap this thing on up.
I'm sorry, I'm a long-winded teacher, so you never give a teacher or a preacher the mic and think
It's
that
all
they're going to do 2 minutes now.
It's
No, I'm
all
a
good.
real
It's all
teacher.
look, when they talk about all these inequalities and stuff like that. Look, this is the way we bridge the gap. So you giving them way more, and what do they call it, over delivering. So no, it's all good. I appreciate
Okay, thank you for your indulgence. But so you said donations, and let me tell your audience that we were the recipients of a $1.4 million base grant from the Kansas Department of Commerce, and we were and are the only Black organization in Kansas City, Kansas, that have ever been funded at this level.
it.
Go figure. But that's another issue. We'll talk about that another day. So, what we petitioned the state of Kansas for was to purchase a 25,000 square foot facility and turn it into a business and technology center that, if accessing capital requires that an entrepreneur be in business for 3 years and have substantial revenues. Now, that's a whole nother conversation in itself. Substantial revenues today just went from 10 to $12,000 a month to 16,000, 14 to 16. So that bar is always being set higher when it comes to us. It was there, then went to there. Now it's 16, 14, $16,000 a month, substantial revenue. If those are the requirements, minimum of 3 years in business, substantial revenues, and the third, maintain margins, profit, operating expenses versus percentage of profit. Maintain profit margin. Most of our community know nothing about what a profit margin is, let alone margins. And so those are the three requirements to access capital at levels to sustain a business. And so if those three requirements are there, every time a Black business opens a location in a city and they are not at level 1, 2, or 3 requirement, they're non fundable entities. Our dollars only get us 18 months. 18 months, our doors are closed. That's data. Go research it. 18. Our counterparts are 3 to 5 years. Black people are 18 months. We are broke and our business doors closed, or we are struggling, and not very long thereafter, our doors are closed. So if those are the requirements, it is entrepreneurial suicide to start a business when you have not met those three requirements. We know incubation, which was a term they threw around in the 90s and threw it out by the 2000s because no one knew why they were incubating. They were incubating businesses without teaching them the road to capital. All of the steps that you need to go through in creating a fundable, sustainable business model. Fundable first creates sustainability. No capital, no sustainability. I am sorry, people, if you think bootstrapping is going to create a wealth generating business in this economy. It is impossible. There must be some form of capital. Now, there's many different types because capital, the true definition of capital, is an infusion of cash into the business. It can come from many different sources, but we don't have no rich grandmas and aunties that's going to die and leave us an inheritance. So for us as a community, capital is accessing funding from an entity, whether that be a bank, whether that be some other lending source, but capital. So it's impossible to create a sustainable business without capital. And yet we get out there in business and we are not able to capitalize the business. And our cash only lasts for 18 months. If it's 24, it's a miracle. But by the time that second winter comes, especially in Kansas City's market, we're out of business. This is a great concern that we've had. We're building an incubator solely to put entrepreneurs in a cocoon for 3 years and to help them to structure a fundable business so that it can become sustainable in the community when it's launched out after 3 years. Year one, we are a micro lending fund. So we take our funds, our micro lending program, plus the relationship with other lending partners to get $15,000 into the entrepreneur's hands so they can get started. We provide them with mentorship and assistance and coaching and marketing, marketing program, financial training. They're required to go through continuing education while they're in the incubator, because what we teach them is a MBA on steroids. And it's ground zero level one is what all financial people think entrepreneurs ought to know. That's all we can get covered in our bootcamp program. But we have several levels of the program, which goes into revenue streams and growth strategies, and then asset management and protection. But that's over the years, we're adding more knowledge to them. But when they come out of that incubator in 3 years, they should have profit in the bank, which gives them the ability to leverage, which when you leverage money, you do not have to qualify for a loan. Say that again. When you use your own money as collateral, you never have to qualify for a loan. You can put your own terms, how long you want to use the debt strategy, when you want to pay it off, how you want to pay it off. You can say what you want for an interest rate because it's your money you're using as collateral, not the bank taking the risk. So it's a different relationship that happens when you're not a cash poor business and you have been able to maintain profit. So we teach entrepreneurs how to do that, but we want to set them up so they'll be in an environment that they can accomplish it in 3 years. Year 3, now it's time to launch you in the community. I've been a launch strategist all my entrepreneurial career. I know how to get businesses started, get you in the community, negotiate your contracts. We have contractors that we have an attorney that's going to negotiate their contract. We have contractors that will agree to do the build out for the right price in the right time. We won't work with anybody I don't want to say what they are. They're a thief. Contractors are the devil is what I've said for many years, because that's how I lost most of my money. Over $100,000 lost to a contractor that did some things that took all my money. So we want to make sure that we don't see entrepreneurs in our community making the same mistake that most of them do. First of all, get into a bad lease. Got into a bad lease. Rent went from $5,000 to $7,500 in 1 year. And bad lease. There's no way I could have maintained that during the winter months. But that's something our community doesn't know. You have some rights to negotiate your lease before you sign it. Those are things our community. So we want to make sure that they do launch correctly. And then we continue to mentor them, coach them, provide them with training while they're out there. We should see more businesses that come back and tell me, Dr. Watson, I got $1 million in revenue. We've got 7 so far. That's over $1 million in revenue that have gone through this process, and we've watched them and nurtured them, and I'm doing 90% of the training. So you said make donations. I need $1.8 million to finish this build out of this complex. It has a lot of work that needs to be done to this facility, internally and externally, to get this program up. Because if we don't change what we're doing, entrepreneurship is going to be extinct in the Black community. Give it another 5 to 10 years. We are not producing sustainable. We had 600% increase in Black women in business, but where are they today? We're not sustaining what we create. And that has to be the focus of every city, or you're not going to have a wealth structure in the urban core, and you're going to have chaos if you don't address what's happening in the urban core today when it comes to wealth and economic opportunities for all people in your city. I sat in the Attorney General's office, Lieutenant Governor's office, and said the same thing. We've got to do something about what's happening in the urban cores, because you're going to have chaos. If you don't create a strategy and an opportunity for wealth to be distributed in the urban cores across America, there's going to be a rise up. Things are going to change. I got to say this, and I'm so sorry. I'm looking at the clock too. That 2053 whole narrative for our community, I never saw all this time. Dr. Frazier was the first person to share that with me, and that's why I'm bringing him back now, because when he shared it in 2018, 2017, 2018, when I first heard it, I didn't understand how it could be possible. Dr. George Frazier is the nation's leading Black economic guide for us. He is the leading expert in Black economics, Dr. George Frazier. He'll be here at our conference, and we do conferences like this twice a year because we graduate our students twice a year. But it is so important for him to be speaking to our Black community today, because there's some things already in the works, and I didn't understand it until I sat in the Lieutenant Governor's office and heard the plan of America to bring manufacturing back to the urban core. By bringing the manufacturing plants back to the urban cores of America, that whole technological shift is going to require that our community learns technology. That's why STEM programs have been rampant through the school system. It was a 20-year plan that we are in the 10 years of the 20-year plan. And it just now became a reality for us. 10 years from now, they are wanting manufacturing back in America, cut ties with China, bring all the manufacturing back and put it in the urban core. Now, I got offended when they said, because we want the community in the urban core to become the people who get the jobs in the manufacturing plants. So we're going to become their labor force again. So I had to get over it, because it's the start of an economic revolution. So I had to get over the fact that they're looking for us to be their labor force. But I said, let's take it a step further. Why not teach Black people how to become bosses? Why not teach Black people how to become business owners? So my plan is the future of entrepreneurship, employment, and employers in technology. So we are creating a technology center where the training can happen in our training facility for entrepreneurs, people who want to get into entrepreneurship in the realm of technology, people who want to become employees in technology, but as well, people who want to be the employer, management in technology. We know that that's going to reshape the urban core, because those are the only 3 economic or financial opportunities that are there. We need $1.8 million to pull this off and to finish what we've done. I received $1 million from the Department of Commerce, paid the building off. We own it free and clear. But we are struggling to get forgive me, we're not struggling. We just haven't been in front of the right people. We haven't been able to get our message in front of the right people. So Darren, I appreciate this. Getting our message in front of people, because America has a lot of wealthy people and a lot of corporations that want to do things that are going to impact the community. We are the vessel that are going to, we've been doing the work. We started in 2020 with our very first class. We have trained over 250 students. Like I said, 17 have gotten microloans, 7 have gotten bank loans, and at number 7 have contacted me and said, I'm in $1 million of revenue. What do I do now? There's next level training I can't start until we get this project done and we get this incubator up and we get the incubator program going and we create opportunities for entrepreneurs in the urban core to sustain the urban core community and provide access to goods in the urban core and services in the urban core. So we have $400,000 that will be coming to this project from the Department of Commerce. Our goal is 1.8 to do the interior and exterior build out and get the students in their businesses. But we need operating dollars. And in actuality, on my wall right now, by May 10th, 2024 is 4.2 million. 1.4 has come in out of the 4.2 million that we are standing in faith, believing God for. We got $1 million commitment from Kansas Health Foundation. That's 2.4 million that has come in. And we're believing for the 1.8 to finalize everything, but we still need more dollars to operate this program. So any donations or contributions, any partnerships that we can create in Kansas City, outside of Kansas City, that will commit. We train entrepreneurs in Kansas, Missouri, Columbia, Missouri. We'll soon be in Arkansas. We're in Chattanooga, Atlanta, Detroit. We have a business owner in Detroit, Black female business owner, said, I'll give you 5 scholarships. That's how we get it done. Companies, churches, economic development corps have said, we will give you scholarships to train people in our community. We have 4 classes a week, 1 live class in Kansas City, Kansas office, which we have half Missouri students and half Kansas students in the program. Then our virtual program, we've got a student in New York. We've had a student in the Bahamas. We've had a student in Jamaica. We've had students from all over the country and in foreign countries come into our classroom because there is no one teaching this part of the business journey to people that look like us. Not this level. Wow. Not at this level. And so that's who we are as the Black Mastermind Group. That's what we desire to see happen. By Friday, we've got a command out in there that $1.8 million will help us finalize our budget, get this project started and finished, get these entrepreneurs and their businesses before December, and help me to look across this country to the cities we have entrepreneurs we've trained and duplicate this whole incubation process the right way so that in 3 years, they can produce a sustainable business in their community.
Man.
And every community where Black people exist, we want to be there.
That's perfect. Dr. Watson, again, thank you for your time. Again, this has been a master class. So I really, really appreciate you. And we're going to definitely have to do this again. And I'm really interested to see, what Dr. Frazier is, going to say. So I will be on the lookout. I definitely will be letting folks know about you. And until then, peace and blessings.
Thank you. Thank you so much for allowing me this time to get all of that out. I appreciate it so much. Edit it down to whatever you need to do to get this word out.
Oh, that's all good. I think we're going to keep it all. I appreciate you, Doctor. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.